My future is unlimited. I can't sing, y'all, but like, no, literally, like that. Do you even want to get married? Like, do I want a man in my house all the time? Do I want a stinky man in my house all the time? I don't. Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. It's the end of the year. It's the end of 2025, the fastest year ever on record. It was a fast year. It was a full year. It was a year of deconstruction for me, of breaking things down. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. I want to talk about how 2025 was really the year where I unplugged from the Matrix. And I'm not sure if I'm fully unplugged. I mean, I'm not. I'm not fully unplugged. But 2025 was the year where I just the plugs in the back of my head really started to unplug, like really unplug from the Matrix, step outside of this construction and this dream and this sort of like constructed reality that we live in. And I want to talk about that. So if you haven't seen The Matrix, it might be difficult to understand the metaphor. And if you haven't seen The Matrix, first off, finish the video because I'll give a recap. But if you haven't seen The Matrix, go see it. The Matrix came out over 20 years ago. It came out when I was a young child, and I have since watched it several times as an adult. And I love movies like that. I've really loved revisiting movies that came out when I was a kid because it's so amazing. You're like, whoa, I liked this movie when I was 10, and now that I'm 35, it's like I like it even more. So if you haven't seen The Matrix, definitely go check that out. Maybe I'll rewatch it and do a breakdown of the movie. I've been thinking about doing some movie reviews on this channel. I absolutely love movies. Quick little caveat. We watched last night on Netflix the 1975 breakdown, and it was like a breakdown of media in America in 1975. And like it was like the backdrop with like politics and everything. It was so good. So if you have Netflix, I highly recommend checking that out over this holiday break that we have, or anytime soon. But yeah, why don't you just hop in and let's talk about The Matrix first, okay? So, The Matrix, an amazing movie, and it is an allegory for real life, right? Like many movies are. And I should have looked this up beforehand, but I know a few years it came out that the creators of The Matrix are actually, I think they are trans people. And so when The Matrix was made, a lot of the metaphors were actually about the binary and getting out of this mindset that we only have two options, or we can only be good or bad, or a man or a woman, or straight or gay. When The Matrix came out, it was the early 2000s, so we were really locked into this binary construct in our minds in the early 2000s. Most of us still really are in 2025 as well. But The Matrix overall as a movie it's about so many things, but it really, I think at its core, to me, the message at its core is that there are so many things that we are, unconsciously and consciously unaware of. There is a world that we can't even see because we are so locked into our day-to-day, what's in front of us. And I do want to really emphasize too that when I'm talking about the Matrix and I'm talking about the culture, I'm talking about American culture. I am sure that there are similarities across other cultures, especially Western culture. But because I'm an American, I've only ever lived in America, and The Matrix was created by American writers and directors. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna look that up before I post this. I'm going to talk about America in this video. So The Matrix overall as a whole is an allegory, what I took from an allegory about how we have more than two options. And one of the biggest scenes, like one of the most famous scenes in The Matrix, are the scene where Neo has the ability to, he either can choose the red pill or the blue pill. And the red pill is the pill where he can stay. I hope I'm getting the pills right. I might get the colors mixed up, but one of the pills he can either choose to go back to his life and he can forget anything that sort of happens in the first few scenes of the movie, which is like when he's being sort of informed that there is a matrix. And so he can choose one pill to just continue the rest of his life, or he can choose another pill to like see the matrix and see the reality and actually see, like zoom out, see what this world that he is living in is actually made up of. So when I talk about the Matrix, I'm talking about how American culture, American society, Western society, in America, we really have sort of been prescribed a few options. And we grow up and we are told that we have a list of things that we can choose from. The list isn't very long. Um, the list isn't very long in terms of, you get a job, you get married, you buy a house. That's sort of the list, right? Like go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, buy a house. That's like the five things that we're sort of like told you can do that here in America. And there's some variance between those things, but if you do one thing outside of those five things, which I've talked about on this channel before, like me, I am a single woman who does not want to be married. When you sort of step out and make those decisions for yourselves, you're sort of like looked at crazy and told that you're not really like falling in line with what you're supposed to be doing. So the Matrix is about how when we zoom out, it's about so many more things, but the Matrix is about, visually, it's about a perspective shift, right? Like you can zoom out and think like, hey, wait, are there things going on other than what I'm aware of right now? Is there more in this earth than what I know? Are there systems at play that are more powerful than me that give me an illusion of choices, but in reality, my options are very, very limited? That is what the Matrix is shining a light on, and that is what I say unplugged too, because the visual in the movie is like each person is literally like their human body is plugged into a machine, and basically it's like we're all machines, we're all plugged in, and we're all like experiencing this virtual reality that the Matrix is. It's such a cool sci-fi movie. And so to get to the point, this year I really started to unplug from that and think about the options that I have, the options that have been presented to me, and really ask myself how all these things around me, right? My career, my relationships, where I live, all of these things. Did I decide that for myself, or was I conditioned to make decisions based on what my conditions, my reality presents me with and like makes it look like I can have? So this year, I really, really started to look around and question. And I want to talk about the two sort of like specific things that I really unplugged from. The first is just like the binary, right? Um, in America, in our minds, we tend to think that we have two options. I think the most clear option is the way our political systems are set up. We literally have a red team and a blue team. And this is a tricky conversation because in practice, it's really difficult for Americans because we are only presented with two options. Right now, we have a two-party system. It's completely corrupt with money, and it's a pretty tough situation. It's not presenting us with a lot of options, but we have literally created this two-party system, this binary system where we have this or that. And the fallout of I mean, American politics is crazy right now, and it feels naive to say this because I've been aware for years, but obviously being a Black American, being an American who, yeah, is of being a Black American, being a minority, I've known for years that neither party is really looking out for Black people, but it's really, I think, challenging to like, it's one thing to know, I think it's another thing to believe it and really fully accept it. And this year has been the year, and just speaking politics right now, where I really this is I'm gonna be honest, it's embarrassing to say, but had to look at the Democratic Party, the party that I have been supporting for decades, and really, really, it's really just hit me in the face that these political parties have the same interests. They have the same interests, and we're now in this system where we have, okay, I can choose this or that, but both sort of suck, and so I know I'm like, so that presents itself as a binary. in reality, as Americans, we have so many more options. If America wants to move away from this two-party system, we can do it right now or not. But that is really like one small example of how we live in this really binary mindset in today, in in this binary mindset, right? We can be good or we can be bad. We can be Republican or Democrat. We can be red or blue. Christian or non-Christian, religious or non-religious. And there's so many things in between all of those things that millions of people can fall into, and we just are so quick to label people as either this or that. And I again, I'm speaking as American, I have this idea in my mind that in other countries, because they have different political systems where there are more than two parties, maybe it's not as contentious. I know American politics are so it is on the ground, y'all. It is. I think it's getting really spooky. It's very contentious. I mean, we're at a point where people can't even talk to each other, which I'm not. I people can't even talk to each other right now, and it's really really bad. And this is a way that this binary construct, this very limited perspective of things that we of options we have, has built constructed itself for now hundreds of years, and now we've reached this point where it's like no one wants anything that's being presented. And it's just really tricky. So, I'm not trying to recap all of American politics right now, but this is really the year where I really identified like, whoa, these two options are really bad. And I don't know how we are going to find a solution, but I know that at least I know this year we have like there are other options that we have. Um, and I think Americans need to know that too, but I don't know how long that's going to take us to figure that out. But so yeah, like, the political system also just in terms of, so yeah, the binary is a big one, right? You know, we can get more into like current day politics or political events, man and woman, straight and gay. This is something that I definitely this is something that I unlocked at a much younger age. I had a great education. I had a great liberal arts education. I took so many women's and gender studies classes in college. So for a long time, I've seen sexuality and gender orientation as a spectrum. So this isn't something that's new for me this year, but I think each year that I hold these truths in my mind, the deeper I sort of like understand it and unlock it. I think that's something that I don't talk about a lot and doesn't really get talked about is like like you can understand something for like 10 years, but each year the concept sort of like begins to reveal itself or like break itself down even more. That's where I feel with just sexuality on a spectrum and things like that. It's like it's hard for me to even have conversations with people who really think people can just be straight or gay. I mean we're only like a few years removed from a lot of people saying that people can't be bi, and I'm like, are you serious right now? So I think really what it is that this year the binary has been called to attention so much in my mind that when people present options, they typically will be like, you can do this or you can do that. And it's like, wait, there are so many other things we can do, we can be labeled as, we can live our lives as. Sometimes it's limited options. Like, shout out to Alphaba. My future is unlimited. I can't sing y'all, but like no, literally. Like that was my like little I kept singing that this year. I love Wicked. I watched Wicked at the end of last year and I watched Wicked at the end of this year. And yeah, my future is unlimited. Elphaba was kicked out of her town, the only town she'd ever known, and she still carried the bravery and the faith that there are so many options out there. So let Alphaba be a lesson to all of us. Let Alphaba and the Matrix, what's the movie called? Wicked, be a lesson to us. We have so many options, and I this year was really just the year where it was revealed to me, like not all of my options are revealed to me, but like the truth that I have so many options and I don't live my life with this very like, well, what if I don't? Or like, well, what if you lose out on that? We have such a I think we just have such a limited perspective, limited deficit. I think I know I say deficit mindset a lot on this channel, but I now that I've really it's been called to my attention, I hear it so much in conversation and it just makes me sad. I think it has a lot to do with like capitalism and competition. And I know I've talked about Ariana Grande on this channel before. I love her so much. I love her music. But she has a song and I can't think what it's called right now. I think it's Good Night and Go. It's not, but she says there's so much room at the top. Like I've just developed an abundant mindset this year. Um, what I think is related to the binary. If you only see things like you'll either be successful or not successful, you'll either be rich or you'll be poor. And when you remove those limited two options from your mind, it truly is like it results in this abundance mindset where I'm like, I can do my options are limited, right? I have to believe in myself and I have to go after them. But if I don't believe in myself, if I start thinking that I only have one option or two options, if that's a limit, like you're not going to, if you only believe that you have this option or that option, that's it. And you want a third option, but you only believe that two are possible, then you're never going to be fulfilled. And that was really, really ingrained in me this year. Like, wait, this is presented to me or this, but I want this, a third thing. And I don't see that in front of me, but it does mean that I can't create that and go after that. So that's a big one for this year that was just like really, really, I'm deconstructing from. I know that this deconstruction is something that will take years because this is my mind has been trained to be like, I can either do this or that. This is something that I'm not like 100% there, but I have really done so much work on it this year. And it's literally like breathing so much more life into my chest, into my heart, into my mind. So yeah, that binary, like cut it out. I shout out to The Matrix. I'm gonna watch that movie again and maybe I'll do a video on it because it's been such a huge theme of this year. And then the second thing I want to talk about that I just really unplugged from is the American dream. And this includes so many, I mean, this includes, I guess, a few different things. For me personally, it was a huge deconstruction with my job, with my career, and with relationships. I've shared on this channel before that I lost my job at the beginning of 2025. Excuse me, I became one of the 50 million, billion, 300,000 Black women who were left the workforce, were removed from the workforce, whatever you want to call it. But my company shut down at the beginning of this year. So this year has been a huge year of questioning what I really want. To be completely honest, the deconstruction of the career, of like climbing the corporate ladder, that has been really something that's been on my mind and I've been working on since 2020. Yeah, when the pandemic came, I was already so burnt out. And when something else was presented to me, another option, I was like, I'm not going back. Like, there was just no way. And I've been saying that since 2020. I was like, I'm never going back to what I used to do. And it's not that I'll never go back to working in person. I'm actually starting an in-person job next year. But it's not an in-person go to my desk and sit at a desk for 8 hours a day, 5 hours a week, 5 days a week. I just, to me, I literally will never put myself back in a position. I'm saying that, but I really mean it. I really mean it. I know, I'm watching this today. I just don't see myself ever going back to an office like that. Unless, obviously, like the world is a crazy place, knock on wood, who knows what the economy might look like in, 5, 10 years. But I know we all need to make money. So however I need to make money, however you need to make money, like there's no shame in that. But when 2020 hit, I was just like, I'm done. Like I'm not going back to go sit at a laptop and do the exact same thing I can do from my house, not 5 days a week. I'm open to hybrid. I'm open to like 2 to 3. But no, and especially if you're not paying me enough to work near the office, like that is a whole nother video, but that is so cruel, y'all. I'm not gonna be, no, I no. If I'm gonna come to the office 5 days a week, you need to pay me so that I can afford to live close to the office. So, at the beginning of this year, when the company I work for shut down and I had to hop back into the workforce and apply for jobs, the application process is was and remains for still so many people just so disheartening. I do not know what needs to be done to make it better, but the act of applying for hundreds of jobs and never hearing back, and then the ones you do hear back from, it's a no, or you hear back and they want to do four interviews and then the jobs they don't tell you how much they are paying you. Shout out to California because California is maybe the only state or one of very few states. I think New York State might do this too. But California is one of very few states that requires the salary to be listed with a job posting. And I'm like, why is that? Why is only one state requiring that? Why would I be applying for a job without knowing how much money it's going to pay me? Like, I'm only working the job for money. And that's another thing, like just the whole American dream of jobs. We are so consumed with our jobs, our job titles, how productive we are. I read a book this year that shout out to the Nat Ministry. The book I read, Rest is Resistance, by Trisha Hersey. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. I'm gonna link the book in the notes of this video, but this book changed my brain. And it gets a lot of, I think the movement gets a lot of criticism because the movement is about rest. And yes, it's hard to justify rest in this economy in this day and age when a damn egg costs $4 an egg. But more than just like the message of this book that I took away, more than just you should rest, is that my worth, my value as a person is not dictated on how much money I generate for this economy or how much I produce or what job title I have. And that was my biggest takeaway from this book. And when I see criticism of this movement, I sometimes roll my eyes because I'm like, y'all, we understand people have to pay bills. Like, we don't live in this world where bills do not exist. But I think it's sort of like twofold. There's the practical aspect of it, like we do have to go to work, but it's also the mindset, like knowing that who I am as a person, my value is not dictated on my job title or like how high I get in this corporation or how much money I get. And that is something that so many of us like it is a sickness. It is a sickness. I hear it with my friends, I hear it with my family. I've only heard this sort of like freeness from like my therapist and then people who have read this book. I'm sure there are people who believe this, who feel this way too, especially non-Americans. But yeah, this book really called to my attention how much value or lack of value we place upon ourselves based on how much that we create or how much we scale our business or how much we grow in a corporation. And that removing removing my self-worth from that type of productivity mindset has been the biggest gift to me. Like, I have begun to love myself, just see myself as a human being that's not I don't have to make anything to be on this earth. I don't have to make anything to justify me wanting to go eat or like me, like that's not what this earth was created for. That is where we have got. That's the system that we have built and these lies that we have told to ourselves and each other over all these years. But that's not why I got here. The universe was not created for me to make money for Elon Musk, for some rich, people who are running this country. Like, no. So that was sort of a tangent, but this book has been so amazing and like it really is the first like one of the very first steps of this deconstruction, removing myself from the matrix. The job thing is just super, super heavy. As I'm talking, I'm like, I could do a whole nother video on this, and I don't want this video to be too long. But yeah, y'all, we're not our jobs. Our jobs are not us. And I just feel so differently around achievement. And yeah, I'm gonna have to do another video on that because the achievement thing is a big one. But the achievement, coupled in with jobs, things like that, a lot of those things tie into each other. And then the last thing with the American dream that I'll talk about in this video is also just the relationship aspect of it. Now, this is something that sort of gets me like it gets me going. Like I get energy about it, and maybe just because I'm happy, it feels like a weight off of my chest. And it's just the force, the forcefulness, or like it is how women are forced to be in relationships. And if you don't want to be in a relationship, then you are looked at, people are like, well, what's wrong with you? And this year, I have not wanted to be in a relationship. That might change moving forward, but the biggest thing that I broke out, it's not even the relationship. It's just it's marriage. And I have no issue. I love some of my friends are married. I love them and I love their husbands. I actually think that my friends they got good husbands. Like I've been all of my friends who are married, I think because they're smart people, they marry good people. But I also want to really, I guess, this year just really again breathe more space into the part of my heart that's like, do you even want to get married? Like, do I want a man in my house all the time? Do I want a stinky man in my house all the time? I don't. And I'm not ready to say right now that I don't want to get married. I won't ever see myself getting married. But this 2025 was the first year where I really allowed myself to ask that question. Like, do I want to get married? And the reason I'm asking myself that, I mean, it's something it's so strange how we ignore, divorce rates. We ignore stories and information told to us from our elders. We ignore the experience of married women for decades, because we want this like little fantasy of marriage. And I live my family. I've lived people in my family are married. I've seen beautiful marriages, and I do think that marriages, relationships can be beautiful. Building your life with someone is beautiful. And so I am not knocking it. But I think what I am knocking is the idea that if you don't want to be married, something's wrong with you, or that if you don't want to be married, yeah, if something's wrong with you, or just like they're like lesser of a person. I don't even, that's hard to say because I never saw myself as less of a person. But 2025 was really the year where I finally started being honest with myself about how how I feel about having someone permanently be in my house for my whole life. And I've asked myself, this year I've talked about deficit and abundance. And I'm not sure if my mindset, the way I see the world, if it really aligns with marrying one person. I'm not even gonna get like, I'm not talking about sister wives. I'm not talking about, yeah, I'm not talking about sister wives, or whatever the other term is. But it's just, I don't have the answer, right? But it's the first year I've really been able to be honest with myself and be like, I will be happy with or without a husband. Like my life will be great. I probably will be happier without one. I mean, if you like look at the research, unmarried women live longer. I don't want to, because I'm still open to it. I'm not going to definitively say like yes or no, but I think this year, and really what I just want to emphasize here was that I started to question it, and I started to question really why I even wanted that in the first place. What are my desires? And then I also map, sort of like couple that with the data that I'm seeing. Like my experiences with dating have not been great. So I'm like, why am I still pushing this? Why am I still, um, and then that's a whole nother topic too. Like I've changed the way I date. I've changed I've took a tough look at the people I've dated, what I want moving forward. So that's changed a lot too. I think all of this has come with just like having an honest look at the decisions I've made or the desires I have and asking myself why. And that why, I've talked about this in other videos too, but that why has just been like my North Star this year. My why, right? Why do I want this? How did I get here? Why did I build this for myself? And sometimes those answers are beautiful too. So it's not always a why with like a critical. It's just a curious why. 2025 was the year I really started asking why and started to see that I have so many more options than I presented myself with. And that's been a big reason I know for why I am now I'm moving abroad. And I just know that I was able to say yes to this decision because of the like work I've been doing with my brain and my perspective and my mindset. Okay. So I want to pause there. I didn't want this video to be too long, but you can see I'm like smiling because this year was just filled with a lot of loss and breakdown, but also with those breakdowns, like truly comes an opportunity to ask yourself questions, get curious about what you want to rebuild. Like if you think about for this year for me, a visual is like this year the house was completely knocked down, right? Like the houses of things I wanted, they were just completely knocked down. And I'm in this position where I have an opportunity to think about what do I want the next few years of my life to look like? What do I want this next house to be built like? And I'm just grateful for that. I'm grateful that I have an amazing resources, an amazing therapist, amazing friends. I work with an amazing coach this year. I've read some incredible books. So shout out to all the people who've been putting their brain and just sharing it with me and sharing it with other people. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna pause the video there. I hope this was insightful, and I would love to hear more about you and how your year was. I know they have said that 2025 was the year of the breakdown, the deconstruction. What have you deconstructed this year, and what do you think about the binary? Do you, if you're from somewhere else, do you think this is purely an American thing? I would love to know what you all think. Again, I'm recording this during the holidays. It's actually Christmas Eve when I'm recording this. So if you made it to the end of this video, I want to wish you happy holidays. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you made it this far, you gotta give it a like, okay? I'll be back soon with another video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Happy holiday season, and I'll be back soon.